our notes and we're finally going to talk about magnets. You're like, this unit's called electricity and magnetism, and we've not even talked about magnets yet. So now is the time. We're going to do a little mini lab, if time allows, with electromagnets in class, just to kind of show the connection. But not in this video, of course. So let's just dive in. What are magnets? Magnetism is a property that some materials have that allows them to give off an attractive or a repulsive force. A magnet is specifically a material that gives off that external magnetic field, making it possible to apply a force over a distance. If you've ever held like different magnets together, you without them touching, but you bring them close to each other, you can feel it. Okay, you can feel that force as you're bringing them near each other. Now, but does this remind you of anything you've heard before? What else can you think of that applies a force over a distance? We've seen that with electrically charged objects that have an electric field. We've also seen it with gravitational force, okay? So there's a lot of overlapping ideas here in our different units. Let's talk more about that magnetic force. Okay, so all magnetic objects, they'll have a force between them, and that force will be attractive or repulsive, just like we saw, with electric force. Now, different from gravitational though, because gravitational is only attractive, but magnetic and electrical can be attractive or repulsive. Now, the attractive force though, it decreases the further apart the magnets are, and it's going to increase the closer together that they are. And we see this too with gravity. Remember the factors that affect gravity. The farther apart magnetic and gravitational objects are, the less force that they'll be able to apply to each other. Okay, so those are some other similarities there. Now, in a magnetic object, force is strongest at its magnetic pole. So magnetic objects have a north and they have a south pole. Let's talk more about that. These poles cannot be isolated, so it has to do with the material that's actually making up the magnet that gives it that property of magnetism. So even if you try to take this bar magnet and cut it in half to make it like this and have the south all together and the north, that won't happen. That's not how magnets work, because it has to do with the arrangement of the magnetic domains, which we'll talk about in a second. Instead, if you cut a bar magnet in half, now you have two bar magnets that are still oriented with north and south poles, okay? So let's talk about this magnetic field, because it's going to be relative. I mean, this is going to sound familiar to things we've talked about again with electric fields, gravitational forces, that kind of thing. So magnetic field is that external force that's given off by a magnet. It's strongest at the poles, and it allows magnets to apply that force over a distance. The strength of the magnetic field is based on the material the magnet is made of, because it has to do with their magnetic domains, which we'll see in a minute. And the stronger that magnetic field, the greater that magnetic force that a magnetic object will experience if it's placed inside that field. The stronger you'll feel that attraction or that repulsion. Field direction, you'll see how these pictures of these magnetic fields are drawn. It's always north to south. So notice these arrows are going out of the north side towards the south, out of the north side towards the south. Same with over here, out of the north towards the south. We're always going to see that. Okay, so again, if you have a stronger magnetic field, you're going to have a stronger force. Okay, and that you can apply that force to different things. A fun fact for you is the magnetic field of an MRI, it's 200 times stronger, about 200 times stronger than, say, a magnet you have on your refrigerator that's holding up a report card. Okay, so there's a lot of variety in terms of the strength of magnets and the strengths of their fields, and that's the strength of the force that they can give off. Magnetic fields result in a force, like I said, that's either attractive or repulsive. And we see similar rules here that we see in electrical, with electrical forces and electric fields. So opposites attract. North and south poles will be attracted to each other, repel, like forces repel. So south to north. So if you're holding two magnets towards each other and they are fighting against touching each other, then those are like poles that you're facing each other. But if you turn them around and you get the opposite poles towards each other, then they will be attracted to each other. Again, this is just like electric fields and electric forces that are attractive and repulsive. whereas gravitational force is only attractive, okay? So we're seeing, again, so many overlapping themes, so many overlapping ideas here. Let's take a little sidebar here to talk about Earth's magnetic field. And different students listening from other teachers' classes, you might dive into this and the earth science of this a lot more. But I just want to give you a little something here because I think it's fascinating. So Earth's core, it's made of a lot of different metals, okay? And they are oriented to act like a giant bar magnet and inside of Earth. And no one's 100% sure at the time of me recording this what actually produces this magnetic field that Earth gives off. A lot of people believe it's the circulation of those metals, but that's of the outer core that's like surrounding a very solid inner core. But no matter what's actually producing it, what we see is that it acts like a giant bar magnet. But here's what's interesting. Earth's geographic North Pole, what we would refer to as the North Pole up here above North America, is actually Earth's magnetic South Pole. And Earth's geographic South Pole, like what we see below South Africa, is Earth's magnetic North Pole. So the bar magnet that is inside of Earth, this is how it's actually oriented. And so here's how this works with the compass. Remember, opposites attract. So compasses have their own magnet in them. And what will happen is if you're trying to go geographic north up here, the needle is attracted because opposites attract. The bar magnet in your compass, the north in your compass is attracted to the south magnetic pole inside of Earth, and thus will point you geographically north. And then vice versa. The bar magnet in here is not gonna. It's gonna be go the opposite direction. But of course, a compass is always showing you north. So I find that incredibly interesting about this. Now, another thing that's kind of a fun fact is the magnetic field of a refrigerator magnet is 100 times stronger than Earth's magnetic field. So it just kind of shows the differences in strength in these magnetic fields. But super interesting. This causes a bunch of different things in terms of Earth science. But I'll leave that up to your Earth science teachers to explain. All right. I told you before that the strength of a magnet and a material and like an object's magnetic properties is based on the material that makes it up. And this has to do with the magnetic domains because all atoms have the potential to technically be magnetic due to the magnetic properties of electrons. But what we see is in magnetic elements, each atom behaves like a magnet with its own north and south poles, and then all those domains get aligned, and that's what gives us the magnetic field. So for example, all of the little arrows are pointing the same direction, which is what gives us this field, this magnetic property. Whereas in non-magnetic elements, these magnetic domains are not always aligned. They can be pointing all these different directions, so there would be no apparent magnetism in something, say like a pencil. Okay, now, but there is a phenomenon called ferromagnetism. And this is where certain objects, if they get placed in a strong enough magnetic field, they can become magnetized due to the poles within their atoms aligning. So all those domains, all of the electrons are all orienting in the same direction. Okay, so for example, pretend this is just like a non-magnetic element like iron, an iron nail. All the domains are not aligned, so it's not showing any attraction or repulsion to any magnet. But if you get it next to a strong enough magnet, it will then orient itself and then be able to have the property of magnetism. Okay? Pretty cool. All right, let's talk about the connection between electricity and magnetism a little bit more to round out this concept. So, moving electric charges, which we know to be current, they produce magnetic fields. They can produce a magnetic field. If you were to hold a wire like this, as pictured, okay, that carries an electric current, your thumb, doing like a thumbs up, represents the direction of the current. And then your fingers, the way they curve around, represent the direction of the magnetic field that it can produce. This is called the first right-hand rule. So the magnetic field it generates is counterclockwise around the direction of those moving electrons, the direction of that direction of that current. Now, the stronger the current, the stronger the magnetic field that can be produced, okay? And so if we want a stronger magnetic field, we can increase the current. Electromagnetic force, I would be remiss not to mention, even though we'll talk about this more in our atomic structure unit, it is the attractive or repulsive force between electric charges and magnets, because there's this relationship between these two things, like I just described. It is like gravity, one of the 4 fundamental forces. So gravity, electromagnetic force, and then 2 others, which are the strong and weak nuclear forces we'll talk about in our atomic structure unit. But it's a fundamental force that exists, okay? Again, gravity is only attractive. This electric and magnetic force is both attractive and it can be repulsive. All right, electromagnets are something we can make. An electromagnet is a temporary magnet made using the presence of strong magnetic fields or current. So it's a temporary magnet made from a current-carrying coil of wire. So like I said, we can make a temporary magnet using ferromagnetism if we put something in the presence of a really strong magnetic field, or we can specifically make an electromagnet using current, okay? Because current produces magnetic fields. And this is useful because their electromagnets' magnetic properties can be easily controlled by changing the current. Because remember we said, the stronger the current, the stronger the magnetic field. If we take away the current, then we take away the magnetic properties in an electromagnet. So it's a really useful tool. All right, let's look at these 2 pictures to show the difference. Notice in this picture and this picture, the switch is open. That means there's no current flowing through here. Thus, this nail is not attracting these paper clips at all. There's no magnetic properties here when that switch is open and there's no current. Now, if I close that switch though, notice now it's a closed pathway, it's a circuit, current can flow through it. And because current can flow through, it can make this non-magnetic object act magnetic with this current carrying coil wire wrapped around it, and it can then attract those paper clips and have magnetic properties. Pretty cool. So how do we increase the strength of an electromagnet? Well, first, the more loops of wire, the stronger the magnetic field that's going to be produced, and so the greater that attraction. Okay, so if we increase the number of loops, see it's a little bit more tightly coiled, we're going to be able to pull up more paper clips here, okay? The other way is increasing the current. So the stronger the current, the stronger the magnetic field. So notice how we're starting here. Now look, if I want to increase current, I need to increase the voltage difference. I need more voltage to create more current. So if I add more batteries or a stronger battery, that'll create more current, and thus look how much stronger the magnetic pull is here. We can pull up more of these paper clips and attract more of them. Okay, last but not least, I have to introduce you to 2 electromagnets in the real world. And if time allows in class, we're going to research more because they are used all over the place, as you're going to see. So first is an electric motor, okay? This is a device, probably in a car if you're driving a car, or you've ridden in a car, that it uses an electromagnet to convert electrical energy into mechanical energy that's then going to make your car move, okay? Is this bringing back memories from our energy unit and talking about energy conversions? I hope so. The other kind of way, real world, everyday electromagnet use that you might have come across recently is a generator. So you may have one at your house, especially if you live somewhere like I live, where we get hurricanes and we can lose our power in hurricanes and tropical storms. A generator is a device that it uses an electromagnet, but it converts mechanical energy from a moving fan into electrical energy so that you can cook and charge your phone and have lights, going even when you don't have power in your house. So 2 examples of electromagnets in the real world. We'll look at more in class. But before we do that, we're going to stop, practice, kind of summarize what we've been learning about magnetism in this concept, and then we'll get more into the practical application. So that is concept 4, magnets.